The morning sun poured through the hospital window, casting long beams over the room filled with quiet beeps and soft footsteps. Captain Marcus Reynolds lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the sterile white light reflecting in his dark eyes. The spinal injury had taken his legs and, with them, a part of his identity. It had been 4 months since the explosion in Kandahar, but the memory of the blast was as fresh as the ache in his back. Below his chest, Marcus knew he was paralyzed. The physical pain was one thing, the mental weight was another. The frustration of not standing, walking, or even feeling his legs was suffocating. Days blurred into weeks filled with therapy, adjustments, and a relentless internal battle. For a man who had built his life around movement, precision, and strength, the silence of immobility was deafening. The long road stories of loss, survival, and hope. Stories that reminded Marcus he wasn't alone. Rahab was grueling. At first, Marcus hated it. But the thing that saved him was the stories. His fellow patients, men and women who had seen hell and returned with scars deeper than the flesh, shared their stories during therapy breaks. Sports, storytelling, sharing what we've been through, healing, together. It was during one of these breaks that the idea took root. Why don't we create something to help us all find strength, purpose, and maybe a little joy again? A spark of purpose. Why don't we do more than just recover here? Marcus proposed during a group session. She became the storytelling coordinator, leading writing groups and helping veterans find their voice. Mike, an Army medic who'd lost both legs, was the coach for wheelchair basketball. Together, they formed a family. At first, the room was silent. Then came the nods, the tentative smiles. 20 veterans showed up, some hesitant, others eager. Marcus led the opening circle. He called it Wounded But Not Broken. One of the nurses, Anne, spoke up. You mean like a program? But by the second half, the game was fierce and joyful. Yes, Marcus said, eyes brightening. The room echoed with laughter, tears, and powerful silence. The seed was planted, building the program. Months later, Marcus sat in a small office donated by the VA hospital, surrounded by posters of adaptive athletes and photographs of veterans smiling through their pain. The program was simple. Introduce wounded veterans to adaptive sports wheelchair basketball, hand cycling, even rock climbing with special equipment, and pair that with storytelling workshops where veterans could express their experiences through writing, art, and spoken word. The goal wasn't just physical rehab, it was rebuilding lives, identities, and connections. Finding the team. Marcus reached out to veterans who had been through the hospital, friends from the unit, and local community leaders. Slowly, the program took shape. There were days Marcus doubted himself, wondering if the program could truly make a difference. Linda was a former Marine who lost her arm in an IED blast. The first event, he refused to join any group activities. The inaugural event was a modest gathering in the hospital's gym. Today, he said, we start not with what we lost, but what we still have. Strength, courage, each other. The pain didn't disappear, but the camaraderie filled the cracks. The wheelchair basketball game was clumsy at first. Passes missed, wheels slipping, laughter, breaking the tension. Instead, he invited Jason to watch a wheelchair basketball game. It hosted regional tournaments, published veteran anthologies, and inspired similar programs nationwide. Afterward, the storytelling circle began. Veterans shared poems, short stories, and memories. Stories that healed. Tom, a former infantryman with a missing leg, read a poem he'd written. I lost my leg, not my spirit. The room was filled with applause and tears. The road is long, but I'm still walking. With wheels or without, I am home. Linda smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. Another veteran, Sarah, shared a painting of a broken tree growing new branches, her symbol of resilience. Challenges and doubts. Not everything was smooth. Some veterans resisted. Pride and pain created walls. Funding was scarce. But each story, each smile, each breakthrough reminded him why he started. A turning point. One afternoon, Marcus met Jason, a young soldier recently injured in combat. Jason's anger was raw, his bitterness deep. Marcus didn't push. Jason came, arms crossed, expression hard. By the end, something shifted. He approached Marcus. Maybe I could try, he said, voice rough. New beginnings. Jason's first game was rough. But as weeks passed, he found purpose. He started sharing stories in the workshops, finding healing in words, growth, and impact. Years later, Wounded But Not Broken had grown beyond the hospital gym. Marcus traveled to speak at conferences, sharing the power of sports and storytelling. Legacy of strength. Sitting in his wheelchair at a crowded auditorium, Marcus watched veterans on stage read poems, display artwork, and accept awards. He realized healing was not a straight path, it was a journey through valleys and peaks. And those legs would never carry him again. His spirit was unbreakable. Final reflection. That night, Marcus held his grandfather's watch, a small gift from years before, watching the steady ticking. Time hadn't stopped for him. It had begun.